everybody. I hope everybody's having a really good week this week. So this week, what's popping and dropping is a fish tank, and we're gonna do a clownfish fish tank, and we have a little crab in there, a treasure chest with a lock on it, and we have a whole bunch of other goodies. There's an anchor, some shells. That's what it looks like on the back. So why don't we go ahead and head over to Design Space, and I'm going to show you everything that comes in this file. I'll meet you over there. Hey guys, now we're in Design Space, and when you open the pop-up fish tank with clownfish, this is something what it will look like. Don't forget to go up and name and save your project, add any additional pieces that you would like to add, and this is the darker gray piece is the piece of paper I cut to use on the back window so we can do both sides. So just keep that in mind when you're cutting your pieces. So if you'd like, why don't we go ahead and head over to the craft table, and I'm going to show you how to put it together. I'll meet you over there. Guys, now that we are back at the craft table, let's get our card base out and put our pretty paper on. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so we have this done. Now, if you want to get this piece out, I'm going to use some blue distressed ink. This is Jim Holtz. It's just ones I've had. You don't have this brand, it's okay. I also use ink pads like this. It's just a pigment ink pad, just whatever you have. And then I'm going to take my brushes here. Doesn't matter the size, I'm just using these because of different colors. And then I'm just going to start adding some blue and use a little bit of purple on this too. Got some ink on here. I'm going to dust it off a little and then just start rubbing it around. You want to be careful when you're doing this because, as you can see, I just tore up two of my circles. All right, so we got our front piece on and shaded how we wanted. So we can go ahead and put it on the front. So let's go ahead and put some glue on the back. Okay guys, so we're going to need some extra supplies for this that we usually don't use besides glue and paper. We're going to need acetate, and then we're also, or some sort of plastic, and we're also going to need double-sided tape because that works best on our acetate. So let's go ahead and get our pieces out for our fish tank. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 score lines here. So let's go ahead and work those. Okay, so we got our fish tank worked, and now we want to make sure our tab is going to be at our back left corner back here. So when you're working it and getting ready to put it together, we always want to make sure that's in the right place so it'll pop up in our card how we want. But before we glue this together, I find it easier if we work our acetate on. Now I want a screen on the back of the card. So in the file there's an extra piece, and on my first card I made I used just an extra piece of acetate. This I'm going to use cardstock before we put our acetate on this, so it looks like it's still in glass. And I chose to do the same thing on both sides of my back piece of glass. What I've decided to do this time to keep everything organized, I have these little boxes I made out of cardstock, and I just put each section of the fish tank in the tray. So we're going to start on the back glass and then work our way up. So the first thing we can do, if you're going to put some kind of color on the back of your glass, I'm choosing to use this blue again. We're just going to take that piece and put it on both sides of our square here. And if you don't line it up perfectly, that's okay. You're not going to see these edges here. And then we're going to turn it over and put our other piece on the back of it. Now what we can do is start decorating our piece of glass. So in the file, we have this coral piece, and whatever color you chose to use, I'm using a purple here, and then we're just going to stack it on top of each other and glue that down. So let's do that. We have that done, and then that's gonna just go on the front of your glass like so. When you're putting this together, you can line your piece up like so. That way we know where to place this piece so it can be seen. And then we can just take and put some glue on the back of this and put it down on our blue piece. Then once we get that on, we can take our other piece that's going to go on the back and go ahead and glue that on also. You can go ahead and add our clownfish on here wherever you would like them to be. And let me show you guys how to put one of these together. We have our fish here, and then we have our orange piece. For my back piece, I decided to use cardstock, and then for the top pieces, I used vinyl, but you can also use paper too. So you'll put the orange piece on top. Then we have these white pieces that go on next. And then we have our two black stripes that go on each side of this. And then our last and final little piece that will go on is our little eye. And then we have our little clownfish. Now let's just go ahead and glue the rest of these on. Then for our back, we are going to take our piece of acetate, take it and tape it onto our piece here like so. And remember, you want your corner to be right here for your tab at the bottom. So I've taken the thinnest piece of double-sided tape I can find, and I just make a square around this box here. And then after I get it down, I'm just going to pull the piece of paper off of it. And then we're just going to take our piece of acetate and put it down over our tape. And then once you have it down, I just take something and rub it over the acetate to make sure it's adhering to the cardstock. Then we're going to do the same thing with this. We're going to take and put a piece of tape around the edge. And then we can just line it up how you want it to look through the glass here. And then we have our back piece on. Now what we can do is just go around and put the rest of our acetate on our little windows here. So let's go ahead and do that. So now we have our glass on our fish tank. So let's set this piece aside and we can go ahead and get our pieces out for our fish group number 1, which is the one that looks like this. So on all the pieces I made so you can decorate with sand if you want, I just took pins and did different color dots on here, and then it lines up at the bottom of our piece like so. So we can go ahead and glue that on. And then we can work our little score lines on the side of this piece. And then this piece of seaweed here, we just line it up on the back like so to give it some color and some dimension to it. So let's go ahead and do that. I like to put the glue on the back of this piece. And then we have our big shell here. And I'm just going to line that up and match it and glue it on. And then we have our 2 little clownfish, and right here one goes and right here one goes. So we'll just take and glue it down like so. And then these shells, they can go on the bottom anywhere on the brown piece here. Or you could put it on the seaweed too if you wanted to. That one's done. Now we can get out number 2, which is the one with the anchor. I already have the brown piece on because I've shown you how to do that. Now we'll get out these other pieces here. So this guy will line on top of our little seaweed like so, and he will line up on that side like so. So we can go ahead and glue these 2 pieces on. And if you want, you can go ahead and put your fish on these things before you glue it on. And a little tip, see how my fish is not going the right way? Don't feel like you got to make a whole new one. You can just flip it over and then take your eye off and then move it to the top of your fish, and it will be going the right way now. And when you glue these on, you just want to put glue on your seaweed part, not the fish. And then for our anchor, you can put your little chain on however you desire. But when you glue this on, you just want to put a little glue on each of these sections where you think it's going to sit. So if you like it like that, then just lift up the piece where you think you want the glue, where you want to put it, and then just put a little glue on that. I'm not gluing all the chain everywhere. And then I'm going to take a little glue and put it on this bottom one back here. And then we'll just take it and line it up on our anchor like so. I just put glue on the anchor, not on the chain. And then we're just going to line it up on our piece. And then we have that guy done. Now let's go ahead and get our next one out, which is the third one, and that will have the little crab on it. So let's do that. We're going to put the seaweed on the back of it like so. So let's do that. So now what we're going to do is get our little crab guy out here, and we're going to put his eyes on. So we got the black on top of the white, and then we're just going to lay it on top of his little eyes over here. And I made this little bitty shell, and I think I'm going to like stick it on his claw here, like so. And then I'm going to just go ahead and put him on top of right up here where he belongs. So I'm going to put a little glue on my piece here. There we go. And then we have a fish to put on over here in our seaweed. I have a shell that I'm going to put down here by the seaweed. So we have this piece done. So we can set it aside. Now we're going to work on tray number 4, which looks like this. Has the treasure chest and the seaweed. I'm going to get my little pieces of seaweed out and get those put on. This tall skinny one goes on this side. So I'm just going to put some glue on the back of my seaweed here and then line that piece up on it. Now let's do our other little piece. That's what the back looks like. And then there we go with the front. Now we can get our little clownfish that go on our seaweed. And we're just going to line those up on top of that. Put a little glue on the back of this little clownfish. And then we're just going to lay it right down on it. The same thing with the other one. Put a little glue on this clownfish. And then put this little guy on top. Now let's do our treasure chest. I started with a brown piece of cardstock, and then I had this shiny paper. This is a gold, but I did silver for the back of the little screws here, so it has 2 different colors on it. So we'll just take a little glue and put it around the treasure chest. Try not to get overly crazy with our glue here. I'm just going to put mine a dot every so often. And then I'm going to put my back piece on. You'll just line it up. And then this piece goes on top like so. So we're just going to take a little glue and go around. But before I do that, I want to put on my little lock here. So it's a closed lock, but what I'm going to do is snip this little edge over here on the lock. And then hook it through the hole here. So I've cut that off right there if you can see. No need to put any glue on your fish. Just do it around the edge of the treasure chest. And then I didn't glue this down because I'm going to try to feed this piece through it again. Okay, so let's put a little glue on it, then feed it through. And then we'll just put that piece on top. No glue on your fish because you don't want any stickiness going on. Just on the back of the treasure chest. And then we have a fish to put up here on the top. And we have that fish that we put on top of our treasure chest here. And then we have two more to put down here on our sand. And these bottom fish you can put anywhere on this piece you want. You just don't want to put them on your side tabs, of course. Okay, and that makes the fourth one that we are done with. So I wanted to show you, if you want to put fish on the side of your fish tank, how I did it with the vinyl. So I have my front piece done on these, and it is a little tricky because you're going to be working on the sticky side. So you'll pull your, if you're using vinyl is the only thing I can think of that where you won't see tape if you want it on your windows or your glass. So I just turn my fish over, and everything on this, you want the sticky side up because that is how we are going to be able to stick it to our glass. So we're going to build the clownfish the exact same way. We're just going to work with the sticky side up. So let's go ahead and make those. So we have this guy done. This is our sticky side that we have it on. So what you can do is put him on your glass however you would like him. And then we'll take the matching fish that's already done and put it on this side. And if it's not a big deal that you don't want to see the same thing on the other side, then you could just leave it yellow because I don't think you'll really see a lot of it. I just like the idea of seeing it on both sides. Okay, so this is our one that's going to go on top of this one. Then we have the anchor. Then we have this guy, and then the treasure chest. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So what we can do is take double-sided tape and put it on these little side tabs here. And then we're also going to put tape on this tab over here too. Or you can use glue on this one. So I found it easier if I left my box open here. Just want to make sure your tab is still in the back. And then this first piece, you're going to bump right up to the corner of this section over here. So it should look like that. Okay. So we're not going to do this side yet. Then we're going to get our next one, which is the anchor. Or you don't have to put these in the exact same order. And this end, we're going to take off. And we're going to bump it right against our first little tab we put in. And then our crab piece is the next piece. And we'll do the same thing. Just line it right up to that edge of our piece we just laid down. Just don't go over your score line for our tab down here. And then our last piece is our treasure chest piece. Now you can bump it up against it. I'm going to go a little away from it to put this piece closer to the front of my glass. And then once you have your pieces in place where you like them, you can just take your tape off here. And then you want everything stacked in a straight line down at the bottom. And then you can just take this side of our fish tank here and then lay it down on top of our tabs. And then you want to just give that a good rub. And then that's what it looks like. And then we will take this tab off and we're going to line it up on our edge of our fish tank over here. And then we have our fish tank. Isn't that awesome? Now, for this guy down here, we're going to turn it where our fish tank is upside down. And then we're going to cut a pretty deep triangle. From this edge, we're going to go like so. You see that pencil mark there? There you go. And if you don't cut this deep enough, it won't fit in our card right. It'll stick out a little. So you can always go back and snip it if you have to. So let's see if I did it long. Yeah, that'll work. So that will bump up right in your score line. And if you cut it and it's sticking out, just snip off just a little bit more. But before I put this guy in, I'm going to put the rest of my decorations on. This piece I made for the back to write a message. So why don't we put that on? Then for the front, we have this 2 pieces of coral. So we're going to put a little glue on this, each side of these tabs here, or you can do one at a time. And then we're just going to bump it up in our score line, just making sure it's not coming outside of our card here. And then give that guy a second to set. And then when you open it up, we have our fish tank. And our last little piece we need to put on. All right, guys, so here is our finished card. I think it turned out pretty darn good. We have all these shells and a starfish down here on the bottom, and it says thank you. And then we open it up. Look at all that goodness. And it says, for being so fantastic. See the little fish on the back. That's what it looks like. So we have something on the back when we open it. I love how this turned out, guys. And then on the back, I decided to do a place where we can write a message this week. And we just added some bubbles over here with some different colors and a couple of the clownfish and some coral. See how when we open it up, we get that nice back so it's not just plain looking. And then we can see all of our goodness inside. There's our little crab in there holding our shell. There's the anchor. Guys, what kind of music should you listen to while you're fishing? Something catchy. And if you can find a better pun than that, drop me a line. Guys, I want to thank you so much for stopping by and crafting with me. Don't forget to stop by next week to see what's Popping and dropping. Bye.